If you've ever played Don't Starve Together, chances are you found that one character who just clicks with you. You know the one, your ride or die, your sanity-saving soulmate, your certified main. Even if you swap between multiple characters, there's always that one that just feels like home to you. But here's the real question. Do you actually know your main as well as you think you do? Well, after you watch this video, you might just learn something new about them. Today, I'm giving you one obscure, technical, or just plain weird tip for every single character in the entire game. Let's begin. Starting first with the poster child himself and my proud main, Wilson. Now, Wilson is a simple character with a pretty nice niche tech that makes him best friends with the cooks of his group, or even himself if food ever becomes scarce. This secret lies in his transmute Icky 1 skill. Now, normally, I don't promote going down the Icky path at all. However, Icky 1 has a very nice ability of essentially refreshing any big meats you have. You see, one big meat can be turned into 2 morsels, which gives you the exact same food value. The power of this comes with the spoilage resetting though. If you use an almost spoiled piece of meat, it will turn into 2 pristine morsels. Not only that, but the overall value of 2 morsels is better than 1 large meat. That's 2 meatballs instead of 1, 2 eggs from the birdcage, or even 2 gold nuggets from the pig king. Who knew that after all this time, Wilson was the actual accomplished butcher of the group? Unfortunately, 3 morsels to 1 big meat is still a net loss, so I would avoid that craft in particular. Willow has a unique kit in her own, and many players will understandably focus on her fireball spell when it comes to light, because it also doubles as an insane sanity station. However, what if I told you that there was a more efficient use of embers that won't burn down your entire base? That's right, using the flame cast skill, you can actually immediately light fire pits into tier 4 fires, for the cost of 1 ember. During non-rainy conditions, this is even more effective than fireballs, because a full fire will last 6 minutes, while a fireball will only last 8 minutes for an entire extra ember. It also comes with the added bonus of not putting you at risk of your base burning down, and your griefer friends can't put it out by haunting it like your fireballs. You do have to give up the massive sanity gains though, so this tip is very situational. Next up we have Wolfgang, and this tip will focus on his mighty Jim. Alone this thing is the epitome of mid, much like his skill tree. However, there's a very cool trick that you can do with it. If you use a continuous emote while on the Jim, like say dancing or toasting, then you will enter a no-clip mode. While in this mode, you can phase through walls, walk off the borders of the map, and in general, it's a really cool party trick to show off to your friends. However, this fun glitch actually helps a lot when it comes to fighting the ancient Fuel Weaver. Not only does it allow you to straight up ignore the sanity obelisks, making the trip to the Fuel Weaver a lot more bearable, it also allows you to ignore the bone cage attack entirely. Just be careful not to fall off the edge while fighting. You won't die, but you'll lose your no-clip status, which will cause things to become a little harder. Windy is probably one of the most popular characters, and while wearing that funky little flower crown and drowning yourself in strange herbal tinctures is very fun, you're probably playing Windy for one thing: Abigail. She provides you with protection, companionship, and when she levels up, light. But what if you're in the early days of your playthrough and find yourself stranded and unable to make a torch, or get to the nearest light source? Well, if you have at least a level 2 or above Abigail, then she can help you survive. But she always keeps moving around, which can be irritating and cause you to lose sanity. But if you use the dance emote, she'll stay still, allowing you to dance the night away under the safety of your sister's atrocious light radius. Or just get a stinger and some morning glory and make a wreath and drink that night vision potion. I guess that also works a little better, but you know. WX78, our favorite robot. So let me put you through a situation that every WX main has had the misfortune of going through. You finally found a rook and scanned it, and it's time to swap out that clunky speed 1 circuit for a speed 2 circuit. But wait. If you unplug that speed 1 circuit, it's going to drain all of your slots, and you'll have to wait a little over an entire in-game day to get all of your charges back. That sucks, but there's a workaround. All you have to do is starve yourself. Wait for the first tick of damage, and then unplug your circuit. This will cause you to lose only 1 charge instead of all 6, saving you an entire day of non-functioning circuits. And yes, wetness can be used for the same effect, although hunger is far easier to control. Do you like having every resource in the game at the click of a button? Well, Wickerbottom is your gal, but you probably already knew that. However, when it comes to actually using that silviculture book, gathering all those saplings, grass, or monkey tails can be a very time-wasting process. Sure, you could, I don't know, beat the endgame boss, activate the rifts, get that silly little shadow scythe to speed things up, Or if you're a filthy casual like myself, then here's another option: lure plants. That's right, lure plants will harvest anything the eyes come into contact with, and then can be killed to drop all the stuff they attempted to digest. Be aware that this farm type will result in some items being lost to the digestion feature, and you may end up having resources not in range of the eye plants if you place things too close to each other, but it's a small price to pay for automation. Also, this type of farm works with every single character, but Wickerbottom benefits the most because, you don't have to wait for regrowth. Now, Woody is a pretty interesting character. If you chop too many trees... wait a minute, wrong script. Sorry guys, I forgot this is Chad Woody, who has practically zero downsides. Now, back when Woody had downsides, he used to drop everything when he became a werebeaver. However, thanks to his rework, he now only drops his hat, armor, and whatever was in his hands. The exception to this is backpacks. Yes, backpacks won't leave you when you transform, and they won't slow you down. This means that if you say, wanted to drain Lunar Island without spending time boating to it, like a stupid idiot who boats, you can just get a piggyback, pop over there as Goose, empty the island completely, and pop back home. As a bonus, he even has access to a cheaper walking cane to offset the piggyback's movement penalty without wear forms. It's like this backpack was just made for him. If you've ever played Wes, you'll know that it's actually not the increased hunger drain that gets you, but rather his tiny 75 hunger stomach. So my tip for you masochists who enjoy this mime is to pay attention to your food economy. Meatballs are essentially meaty stew for Wes, and high hunger foods like tall Scotch eggs, the aforementioned meaty stew, and even ironically his favorite food, fresh fruit crepes, are completely wasted on him. Sorry Wes's tip is very generic, but he's literally just a worse version of the OG Wilson, so he doesn't really have any interesting techs. Sorry Wes mains, I respect you guys completely, but why do you do this to yourselves? As a Maxwell player, there's one thing you absolutely are going to want a lot of in your playthrough: nightmare fuel. But short of just being insane and fighting endless nightmares, there's not a lot you can do to get early game nightmare fuel. Well, here's a quick and easy way to get a decent amount. First, build a boat, then go and catch yourself one rabbit, you only need one, collect 6 pieces of grass, and then grab around 20 carrots. Feed these carrots to a rabbit den, and make sure you don't have any meat in your inventory. This part is very important. If you have meat in your inventory, this will get messed up. Eventually, this crazy rabbit guy will spawn, and then you can purchase the rabbit wreath for 1 rabbit and 6 grass from him, and boom! You now have yourself a way to get tons of monster meat, beard hair, and more importantly, nightmare fuel. You see, the wreath allows you to just pick up rabbits and they no longer are scared of you. So you can simply grab yourself a ton of rabbits, bring them over to your boat where they can't run away, use the shadow sneak skill, and go ham. Easy and efficient nightmare fuel farm. Man, if only they hadn't fixed the Balatro deck lifesteal glitch, then that would have been my Wigfrid tip. However, it's okay because I have another fun factoid that you're sure to find useful about this carnivorous beast. And luckily, it has to do with the very same mechanic. Wigfrid benefits immensely from basing right next to Jimbo, because at the touch of a button, literally all you have to do is go in, click skip, and leave, you'll have hostile creatures to siphon health and sanity from. And as a bonus, if you're, good at Balatro, you can even score some gold. Wigfrid mains can never have too much gold. Weber is he's a pretty bad character in his current state, and really most of the useful stuff I could say about him is obvious, like, armor your nurse spiders, lead spider civil wars when you get hungry, all that jazz. But a mechanic you may have forgotten about is that Weber can actually sleep in tier 3 spider dens. Now, you've probably heard me say this before, but I think sleeping is heavily underrated in Don't Starve Together. It's literally free health and sanity at the cost of some food and time. And as Weber, food shouldn't be an issue. It's even better if you decorate the den, as then you can put it in the middle of base and not bother your friends. And it will never turn into a spider queen, which makes it quite literally an infinite tent, with free base protection at that point. Really, that's pretty good, dude. Hold on a minute. Do you guys hear that? Wait, what is that? Guys, it's time for a bonus tip. Yes, that's right, but this tip won't be for any Don't Starve Together character. No, my friends, this tip is for you, the viewer. Chances are, you're probably not subscribed to the channel. And statistically, those who do subscribe and leave a like on this video get 17% better at Don't Starve. Okay, back to the list. Winona. The mob farming master got a huge buff when they introduced tingle nodes to the game, or the electric fence. So my tip to you Winona players is to cheese the absolute hell out of this thing. All you need is 4 tingle nodes, or maybe 5, because, you know, it can get pretty finicky, and you'll never have to worry about hound waves again. Bosses may still give you a little bit of trouble, but that's not what this tip is about. To get tingle nodes, all you gotta do is defeat Nightmare Werepig, which I promise he's not that hard, and then wait a few days. Then go to the junkyard, and you should see the blueprint on top of Scrappy's giant pile. You don't even have to fight Scrappy himself to get the blueprint for it. You just have to dig it once. It's pretty nice. You can even get creative too. Automatic basilisks farms, automatic pig farms, or even bunnyman farms if you're like craving bunny puffs or something. These fences were practically made for Winona, just like the piggyback was made for, what's his name? The Canadian guy, Woody. Yeah, Woody. Walter is a phenomenal character now thanks to his skill tree. And you might think I'm gonna talk about ranged metas or even Wobie skills here. However, I'm not. My tip to you is always to carry around at least a stack of Wobie snacks. Not only are they good for keeping Wobie fueled, they also aren't that bad as an emergency food source, restoring 9 hunger at the cost of 1 health and 5 sanity, which Walter can restore easily anyway. The kicker, however, is that they never spoil. So you can stockpile them wherever you like or just hold on to them for emergencies. In previous patches, they did actually allow you to trade the Wobie snacks for eggs at bird cages too, but unfortunately they got rid of that because that was too OP. However, they're still not that bad as an emergency food source, I promise. One of Worley's most annoying mechanics is his food memory. If you eat too much of one food, you will experience diminishing returns until you wait 15 entire real-life minutes. Keeping track of this is the most annoying part of it. However, did you know that you can tell if Worley still remembers a dish based on his inspecting quotes? So all you have to do if you forget is to inspect the dish to see if Worley is still on his cooldown. A small but surprisingly useful tip that I don't see a lot of people doing. Wormwood, the combat-focused character that many people mistake as the farming character. He's the only one with access to Thorn's armor, and even a buffed version of the tooth trap called Bramble Traps. But these Bramble Traps can be pretty clunky, and setting up large fields of them can reduce your damage output. But what if I told you that there was a way to make a Bramble nuke? Get yourself a boat, place your brambles on said boat, and send that bad boy to Davy Jones' locker. Boom. You now have floating Bramble Traps. The thing is, these behave the exact same way as bull kelp stalks, which means that you can push them into a corner and stack them on top of each other. Do this with, I don't know, what's a reasonable number? Maybe like 200 Bramble Traps? Light work, by the way, and you'll be able to instantly delete anything. It's really quite awesome. It's a bit harder with bosses that move funky though, like Celestial Champion, but still, it's a fun tech indeed. We love a good Bramble nuke here. Wartox is a very powerful character, and some would even say he's the strongest when it comes to quality of life, with teleporting, heals, and food all for the low price of a few bees. However, sanity can be a big issue for Mr. Tox. The problem is that every single mortal food gives Wartox half the benefit, half the hunger, half the healing, and more importantly, half the sanity. Sure, you could just make double the taffy or jelly salad, or plant yourself a farm and let it get overtaken by forget-me-lots. Forget-me-lots are unique, as if you combine 1 forget-me-lot, 1 honey, and 2 ice in a crockpot, you'll get tea. This tea restores 7 sanity for Wartox, but the thing here is that it also restores 30 sanity over the course of 1 minute. Because overtime gains are not affected by Wartox's mortal food penalty, he can reap the full reward of this tea. So after a long day of devouring mortal souls, be sure to slow down, kick back, and drink a cup of tea. Alright, it's time to talk about that weird fish girl, Wirt. Now, I've already stated before that Wirt is probably one of the easiest characters to pick up. A vegetarian diet means very little when the land, ocean, and even islands are full of alternatives to meat. And you can even grow ridiculous amounts of food via farming. And you can have your merms do everything for you. However, one struggle for Wirt is affordable wetness. You see, if you want to reap the full benefits of being Wirt, you'll want to stay moist most of the time, especially if you spec down her leftmost skill tree. But water balloons can be tedious to farm, and jumping off of boats takes so many inputs, and you have to deal with loading screens and whatnot. However, they recently added a new item called the Personal Floater that allows Wirt to sit idle in the water to easily gain wetness. It's pretty slow, yes, but it's cost effective. Of course, for big battles, I would suggest getting a Mudslinger and the wetness gain perk for it, or just use your Merm Guards, it's what they're there for. Wanda is a woman of many mysteries. However, my tip for her is to actually get yourself a bee farm as soon as possible. Why? Well, it all has to do with her favorite food. Normally, favorite foods are incredibly forgettable, as they only provide 15 extra hunger on some usually already pretty filling dishes. However, Wanda's favorite food is taffy. Not only does this remove the health penalty, but it also makes taffy give her a whopping 40 hunger instead of 25. This means that for 3 honey and 1 twig, you basically almost have the equivalent of meatballs. And you get 15 sanity with it as well. As a bonus fact, if you're playing solo as Wanda, don't be afraid to make taffy by using 1 royal jelly and 3 twigs. Wanda cannot benefit from jelly beans, so there is hardly any reason to make them. As sinful as this recipe may be, it's very efficient for Wanda, so, you know. And finally, Wonky. Now, why you would ever want to main this budget version of Wilbur from Shipwrecked is beyond me, but certain characters actually do benefit from occasional wonkification. For example, if you're playing as Wirt and absolutely refuse to use the Celestial Portal for some reason, then turning into a Wonky will allow you to trade with the Pig King. Or if you don't want to switch to Woody but somehow found Moon Cay Island, then Wonky isn't that bad for exploring thanks to that running mechanic. However, just remember that you're giving up an entire inventory slot to play as this character, and you can't kite as effectively. So there's that. Alright, wow, that's it? Oh, yeah, that's all the Don't Starve Together characters. Well, if you enjoyed this video, let me know in the comments down below if you would like me to do the same thing, but with Don't Starve single player and its different cast of wacky characters. As for me, well, I'm off to go, I don't know, give cabbages independence or something. See ya everyone, Polarlotus out.